Triambakam yajamahe sugantim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanam mrityurmukshyamamritat
Hi, this is Amelía Eon Karis.
Hey everyone, it's Satya, and you're listening to Love, Sex and the Hidden Agenda. Hello, it's Satya and Amelía here. Hey Amelía.
Hello.
We've been talking the last couple of episodes about Shakti rising and Shakti unleashed, and I wanted to
Shakti exposed.
Yes, definitely. Oh goodness, yeah.
Now we're going to unleash her.
Now, yes. And I was just really interested in this conversation that we've been having around dance and the feminine reclaiming dance.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a lot to say on that subject.
I do. Well, you know, we're both dancers, so I know you have a lot to say also. I think that dance is the communication and the medium of the Shakti feminine energy through women and men, right? We have this magical ability to create vibrations and frequency and geometries and rhythm through our body, through our movement.
Mm.
So in ancient India, there were temple dancers that guarded and lived and resided in the temples. And these were the mystery schools where men would come to engage with the divine feminine archetype. And they weren't brothels. It was a more conscious experience of what has now been perverted into brothels. But the temple dancer was the mediator of bringing the Shakti alive, and dancing Shakti through her body would awaken the man to know how to basically dance with the feminine and ignite the feminine and receive from the feminine. And, you know, even like there's the Sufi swirling in the dance, but dance in the Hindu philosophy, the Vedic philosophy, dance was the communication from the gods. So the gods gave us the dance. So Indian classical dance was the form of communication between gods and humans. And all of the hand mudras and all of the beautiful orchestration of the body in Indian classical dance tells a story. So if you've watched Odissi dance or Bharatanatyam, you're watching through the movements and gestures the entire story of our origin and the myths of the gods. And studying that dance form was so empowering for me. Because dance has always been sacred for me, even as a little girl. Like, I wanted to dance and I wasn't allowed to dance. You know, dance was termed secular, you know, from my cult perspective. And I wasn't allowed. I used to sneak out of my house at 16 years old in the middle of the night to go to dance clubs. And, you know, it was hip hop then, but for me, it was about this expression. I needed to express what my words couldn't, and I needed to express it through my body. And my mom just did not at all understand it. So I couldn't formally study dance until I was in my 20s. And I'm curious for you, Satya, because I know you also had a religious upbringing. Like, were you allowed to dance at home?
You know, I suppose I was. But I mean, everything you were just saying about the temple dancers and that dance was from the gods, and it was a communication. And that literally, it just makes me want to cry, because if I wish that I could have been raised with that kind of knowledge or information, because I knew that I wanted to dance. I knew that it felt incredible to dance. I actually tried to be a dancer as a young girl, but my mom took me out of lessons, and I think I only had like 5 lessons. She said we couldn't afford it. So that was that for me. So the next time that I was able to do any kind of dance would have been in one of those, underground, like underage clubs when I was like in the 8th grade or something, and it felt liberating, but there was some kind of darkness around it. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or, oh, there's people smoking here, or
darkly lit club.
Right. Or like, oh, this must be a sexual thing. Oh, I want to dance. I want to move like this, but maybe a man is looking at me. Oh, is this a sexual thing, or is it? So then there we are again, smack right back into this whole discussion, about where did this get twisted for men and for women, and how much of our thinking is faulty wiring, or is just sort of imprisoned and not completely free, even though we can get hooked real easy with the what could be eroticism of it, but had I had a feeling that, oh, you move your body and think of, God, or think of like Mother Nature or something. I mean, that idea, my brain could literally explode right now. Like that blows my mind. So
it was taken from us. And, when I was going to the hip hop clubs in the like late 80s, hip hop then was very conscious, and it was expressing sort of the people's story. And it started out really pure and really awake. And then I saw how the hip hop got perverted and distorted and just became about, bitches and hoes, and became highly sexualized, where all the new hip hop dances all of a sudden seem to be like looking like a couple's, in the act. And it went into all this hip gyrations and like sexualized movement away from all the pops and locks and expression that the body was just, it used to be a communication. Like people would go into the circle and it was solo dancing. That was the way I learned hip hop, was like everyone came out into the circle, expressed themselves. It was not bumping and grinding up against someone. And then like the music industry took over hip hop, right? And started creating this commercial hip hop that was all about gang violence and the rape of women, basically, and doing drugs. And then that became like this really perverted, I saw like the wave of dark, talk about the parasite, like infiltrating through the airwaves. And so then I was looking for another pure dance form, and I found the rave scene. So that's when the electronic music industry started coming up in the early 90s. And I was living in London at the time in the pure kind of rave music. And then that was my church. So again, we were solo dancing. It had nothing to do with your partner, or there had nothing to do with sexuality. It was like people were dancing in reverence and overflowing stimulation of their God self, right? It was like activating the God in your body and letting it move and be free and experiencing this kind of freedom. But then the rave scene got taken over by commercial rave, like the drugs got darker, and it started off in this like pure way of consciousness expansion and intention. And now it's just like a commercial sort of underground movement for mafia drug dealers. And so that was really disturbing to me, like being in Burning Man and some of those early experiences of large scale raves. And now they're all corporatized and mafia run as drug rings, basically. And so that really disturbed me. And then I got into African dance, West African dance, which the first time I went to a West African dance class, I had a full-on past life memory. I had never danced I've never even heard African rhythms like that. And the teacher was teaching us this New Guinea dance. And I knew the dance. Like, I don't know how I knew the dance. I'd never studied it before, I'd never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
But my soul took over my body and it knew the entire dance. And I had such an extraordinary experience. And I continued to learn that dance form. And, you know, they sometimes Africans or this Haitian, I was studying Haitian dance once too, because that's also a ritualistic dance. And they recognize like, oh, you dance like the Haitians, like you're embodying the spirit, which most white people don't know how to do. And
we don't even know what that means.
Mm-mm.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he sees what I'm doing. Like, oh, that is the original way that these dance was a form of communion with your God self or the ancestors. And still, you know, in Africa, the West African dance is how they resolve conflicts. Like they don't sit down and talk about it; they dance it out. You know, so they dance.
Oh, wow.
If there's a dispute in the community, they call a dance circle. They start drumming and they make those people dance it out. If there's jealousy, they dance through it. If there's whatever kind of conflicts, like dancing and drumming is used as the medium to work it out. And, you know, that's kind of how the hip hop scene was. People worked their stuff out through the frequency and vibration of their body. I mean, I know so much about a person by dancing with them or watching them dance. It's like I can read the signature of their soul. And I think it's just so critical that we reclaim our own dance and learn how to be embodied in our physical form, because so much of the parasitic dark agenda has been to dismember us from the connection of our God self. Like they've taken over the astral realm. They've taken over our astral bodies so that we can't embody the bliss or bring in the God pure consciousness into the physical form. That was done purposefully. And through dance, we bypass this kind of stronghold that has been placed there. And I really think that dance is a medium. So they knew that. And what do? They start attacking the music industry. They push more drugs on people. They make people intoxicated. So yeah, people are dancing these days, but most of them are completely unconscious and bringing it into this really base level of their sexuality, like lust. So, you know, like women, I was always like, you know, I'm a dancer because I want to feel God in my body, not because I want to be objectified and looked at by men. So I've never danced for a performance. Like that's not the kind of dancer that I am. And it always kind of disturbed me if a man just sat there and stared at me. Like it was make me so uncomfortable and almost ashamed. Like, wait, I'm not moving my body like this so that you find me sexy. I'm having an experience of bliss inside myself right now, and I want to be free.
Right. You know, I'm thinking about the only options that I had for dancing in my school. There was no dance class or whatever. So I became a cheerleader because that was the closest thing I could think of to being able to use music and being able to dance. And then even just in looking at the different options that there were in life, like, okay, so there's ballet, there's like a jazz style of dance. Like I'm thinking, you know, back in the day, I think that might've been before hip hop or right when hip hop was coming into play. But you know, if I'm going to watch ballet or if I'm going to watch jazz, I'm not getting like turned on or aroused or something. There's something almost like non-sexual about it. And so I think I would have been much more attracted to something like African dance or something, or Hindu dance, something that had to do with my God self or with my spiritual self. And it makes me kind of sad that I organically figured out dancing through, probably going to bars, like, and being looked at or feeling like, oh, I must be, somebody's getting excited watching me, but I really wish that wasn't happening. I just remember feeling like I wish that wasn't happening. I don't mind being, admired or something, but I do want to dance for myself. I do want to express. So I think I was wishing or searching for a way, and then I guess I'm kind of getting off on a tangent or another note, but, even just combining, I mean, there's different kinds of dancing we could do for our God self. But I do think that, as far as, love, sex, and the hidden agenda goes, like there can also be a sensual, sexual, perhaps even type of dance that still doesn't need to be objectified. It can still be for me, or it can still be my own, owning my sexuality as far as the feminine rising in that. Does,
Well, I love that you said that, because, I'm in Mexico and I've been studying all the Latin dances here, like bachata and salsa. And there's this dance called kizomba, which is extremely sensual and sexy. And it's so fun to study all these dance forms, which are partner dances. And I'm such a freestyle solo dancer. And because it was always, for me, it was like, I'm not dancing for men. And, this program of like, this is not objectification. Like, I'm dancing for my soul. But here I am, like, really wanting to engage with the masculine and feel, what does it feel like to dance with a masculine match, right? To find that balance between the masculine dancing with the feminine, where it's not just sitting down and watching. Because most white men don't dance, right? Like, they're very uncomfortable in their body. They don't have much rhythm. They don't feel free. They're super sensual. And yet it's completely, sure, there's like the random guy who's a little inappropriate, but for the most part, like the majority of the people, random strangers that I've danced with, you get to have this experience of holding your sensuality, your beauty, your eroticism, dance with them, and walk away. And there's no, like, you don't have to give them your number. They're not, grinding up against you, or like, they're not trying to steal anything from you. They're dancing in the beauty, and then like the partners switch, and the
That's
men basically
so and they're not making it about themselves either. No, like, okay, oh, she's dancing, oh, this must be, back to what we've been talking about in the last other episode, right? That's beautiful.
And it's so healing for me. Sure, you can find the darkness anywhere, and I'm sure there's like couples that probably get jealous and of their partners dancing with the sexy one, but the way that the style is set up is just that you don't come with one partner and only dance with that partner. You dance with everyone in the room, and it's a very sensual, close dance, but it's not about getting anything from them. It's like, let's just explore movement and beauty and sound. And the men, it's amazing. Like, doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you're short or overweight or what you look like. Everybody dances with everybody. It's very tantric, I feel.
Tantric in the way of, for people that don't maybe understand what that means, but like loving all that is.
Yeah. Like there's, loving everything and enjoying the beauty in everything. And there's no judgment or discrimination, or it's just the full embodiment of beauty and breath and fullness. Like in a Western dance club, it would be like, oh, he's not cute, I'm not dancing with him. Oh, I want to dance
Right.
with the hot chick, or oh, she's young and gorgeous, or oh, this one. But in this Latin style of dance, it's like, yeah, I mean, sure, some people might be like that, but the majority of what you see is like, oh, I haven't danced with that person yet. Oh, let me dance with. So you see young guys dancing with older women. You see gorgeous women dancing with, frumpy old dudes, or, you know what I mean? It's not, everybody is celebrated, is what I'm trying to say. Everyone is celebrated. And it's so, you really see people's
Wow.
beauty come
That
to
sounds
life
amazing.
through the movement. It's really healing. I
Sounds
think
like,
we lost that in this white culture.
I think so. It sounds like the shame is just lifted and taken out of the equation. And if there is sensuality, or even sexuality, that it is respected and it's contained.
Yes,
And
it's contained.
right. And if there's an exchange, it's still not people not making it about themselves, or turning it or twisting it into something that it's not. Because I think it's beautiful that there are like you were saying, in the other cultures, that conflicts are danced out, and or in this, what you're doing now, maybe it is the masculine feminine are being celebrated in this dance with respect and freedom, and without the shame. And then and because I think we have been so, I think, oppressed, the feminine, about our sexuality, it becomes almost scary to express our sexuality. And a lot of women are actually quite shut down, and it's actually shocking, because I tend to think of like, oh, a lot of men aren't comfortable dancing, but or moving their bodies. But surprisingly, a lot of women are quite shut down and may only move their bodies in certain ways in a certain type of dance. And I know there are other kinds of dance coming out now where we can actually really hold our actual sexuality, and it can actually be like a sensual, feminine, it's like, okay, a true feminine movement that may have been like, let's say nobody taught us and we were Neanderthals. Like, what would it have been like? Would it have been like a fire dance? Would our legs be spread and we'd be squatting on the ground? Would we be rolling around? Would we be moving in circles? Like, would we feel sexual? So this is like, I think when I was dancing, even in the 8th grade, I may have felt that energy rising. I may have felt a sexuality. So what do you do with that?
Yeah,
when
we're not taught how to cycle it. And, you say like, what does it look like to kind of be in the body itself? Like, well, Shakti, when it's freed in the body and the Kundalini has space to move, you have a fully undulated spine. You have full rhythm in your body. You have full functionality of every undulation. So if you look at a really well-trained dancer, you can tell they're moving a lot of Kundalini energy. Like they have access to like their full life force all the way to their fingertips, like from the base of their spine out to their fingertips. If they're really feeling every single movement. And I think that that's where personally I want to be in terms of my embodiment and my own personal health. Like, I know that when I feel my Shakti breathing all the way to my fingertips, that I'm not indestructible, but like I have a level of life force and health and well-being.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think about the unwind stuff that you do and that I assist you with.
Yes, I love that, because I notice when I look at people dance, like where their Kundalini is blocked, where their energy is not flowing, where the Shakti doesn't have space to move inside their body. And it's always along the central spinal column. But it's so clear to me the minute music's on and someone starts kind of tuning their body with the music, I can see where these blockages are. So in my Unwind practice, I have people blindfolded so that they're not in that thinking of, how do I look like when I'm dancing? Like, who's looking at me? Or let me compare myself or copy the dance movements of the instructor, right? It's not a dance class. It's a process to find your own dance and rhythm and free the Shakti inside yourself so that you have more of your own self-expression. And it has to get unwound. And I started noticing like how the shadow body gets twisted up in this spiraled way, and we have to literally unwind it. And so I've been using dance as this healing modality and taking people through this process, which you've been through a number of times and now are supporting me with. And it's really powerful, right? Like seeing people when they start hearing this music, and of course it's certain types of music I use that activate certain frequencies in the body, certain rhythms carry different patterning, right? And so when the body starts to feel those frequencies and starts to move with them, like it starts activating different chakras and frequencies, and then people start having like full-on psychedelic experiences of past life memory coming up, or they just start crying and they don't understand and they start releasing, right? It's pretty wild to look at.
It's amazing. I actually, in the times that we've done it, I do want to say one thing that I found shocking and surprising, to say the least, to me is I thought, so the first time I witnessed it, I had done it, but I was blindfolded and I was a student. But when I was actually assisting and watching, I was amazed the very first time I saw it that all the men were actually very free in their bodies. They were the ones that were doing all kinds of movements, just big movements, and just following their whatever. They were on this huge journey, it seemed, and the women often could barely move. And I thought, the first time I saw that, I thought, that must just be this particular group, and that must be just kind of a fluke thing, or maybe there's some kind of energy going on, or maybe there's some masculine, feminine, something going on, And but then every time I saw it after that, it was the same thing. And I always thought that, that it was women who are more comfortable, because when you go to a dance place or something, maybe
mostly women are dancing and there's men on the walls. Yeah.
So what in the heck, how do we explain, like, something is shut down, or something is, or men are allowed to journey in a certain kind of way. And I don't understand that. Like that just, I could not make sense.
Well, I think that they're not being, I think for men, dancing also is really overwhelming because there's a peer pressure thing. Like the fact that we're blindfolded in the Unwind process, and how you were able, it's only me and you and the other musicians that don't have blindfolds on, and everyone participating has a blindfold on. And I've told all the musicians, like, avert your eyes, do not look at anybody, because if they feel that you're looking at them, they're gonna shut down, right? So when we're in witness of someone else, we have a very different program gets kicked up. Like if I'm dancing all liberated and free, like no one's watching, and then someone, all of a sudden I see them looking through the window, I'm gonna stop dancing, right? It's like,
right.
I was just so free. I had no idea anybody was looking at me. And I think what you got to witness with those guys was like, they were in a safe place where they didn't care what they looked like. Like we'd set up the containers so that they felt completely safe to go unleashed. And it's always been the men that get full, like some of them, like it can take them a while. Like I've noticed it takes them 1 or 2 sessions before they do it. But when they unlock huge, and they
Yeah.
start being the ones screaming and thrashing around and dancing,
looking like they're
harder.
surfing or something. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, it was like, and I wasn't even, I was just in the zone anyway. I mean, I'm not really watching, but I noticed things, and
Yeah.
by after several times and seeing how some of the women just looked like they were hardly even moving a finger. And yet they might have been having an amazing
frozen. Yeah, but that's where all the frozen trauma is, when they're so frozen. Like a lot of women cannot move their hips. Like their whole pelvis and lower chakras are completely frozen. Like if I ask them to make hip undulations like a belly dancer would, or a hula dancer or something, for a lot of women, they can't do that. They've been so traumatized through whatever abuses, or it could have been a childbirth trauma, whatever, their hips freeze up. And that is really hard. I mean, I know you were there once when we did a collective female unwind, and we all worked on, like, started clearing the deep womb wounds. And it was so powerful. Like so many of us were having past life memories of the sisterhood. Belly dancing, talk about another sacred dance that's been perverted into prostitution. I mean, that was for the females to celebrate with each other, to keep their gynecological kind of system, like their whole female body healthy. It was like the secret art of women for women. And then it was brought to your partner, or, it might be something you share with your lover. But now, the way I was told about belly dancing from my mother was like, oh, that's the first form of prostitution. Like, I can't believe you would even. I went to one belly dance class and I told her, oh, I'm taking belly dance. And she says, yeah, it's just the first form of prostitution. Of course, I never went back, because I felt so ashamed to move my hips like that. But yet I'm designed to move my hips like that, So I found other forms of dance to feel more safe, to keep the energy free and unlocked there.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a really big subject, because I've noticed that even in when throughout my life at different times, like the way that I walk or something, like, okay, I don't want to walk with too much natural movement. My natural movement, right? And I remember
swaying that booty.
Heavens no! But wait, I'm in my mid-40s now. I can do whatever I want. And but yeah, it's kind of, even that, like we have been I mean, for lack of a better word, it's, I don't know, the programming or the shutting down, or, I don't want to be too feminine. I can't be too, what's the word? I mean, feminine is a sensual, beautiful thing. And it's so delicate, like a delicate flower. And it's like, how do you let that flower be a flower, and not like cut the flower and put it in your own vase and take it in your house and make it yours? Like, it's like, I realized that I was shutting down my movement, just even in the way that I walk. I don't, and I can't move too much, and so I can only imagine what so many women are needing to clear. And I know that it's shifting now. I know that there are movements happening like your Unwind and other dance forms that are clearing these kinds of things. And
and the clearing, it's so hidden and so nasty, and I don't think a lot of people really want to look at where that darkness came from, because it's dark. It's that parasite I'm talking about. It's extraterrestrial. It's nasty shadow stuff that took over our universe and started to control people's vital life force so that we didn't know ourselves to be gods, right? And I mean, it goes back and back and back and back. But the way we are interacting with it on a very day-to-day level is through our sexuality and through our feeling of safety and self-expression and ability to like own our bodies, because we've given so much. We've been enslaved for so long through these thought programs, this conditioning, this betrayal, these deep soul wounds of rape and pillaging and submission, that of course we've got like major kinks in our body that, and I think that dance is a way, you know, I just encourage everyone listening to this, if you're not a dancer, go take a dance class, like start dancing. If you want to really heal yourself, if you want to clear yourself and start to get in touch with your own power, start to dance, because dance really, like, when we go inwards to dance, and you don't have to go to a dance class. I mean, if you're scared, like, just stay at home and turn some music on and let your body move. Like, notice where you're frozen. Notice, you know, how things.
Dance is our nature. Dance is our nature. Dance is for everyone.
It's reverence. It's reverence to that inner dwelling God. Well,
on that note, it's time to wrap up.
Dance your God self awake, people. Dance it out. Work it out. I mean, I use dance to work out the kinks. If I don't dance every week, I feel the blockages building up in my body. And on that note, I'm actually going to go dance. Right.
Beautiful. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Tell them where they can find us.
Yes, on our website, Love Sex Agenda, you can subscribe, sign up for email updates, or send us a note, and make sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram, Love Sex Agenda. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you'd like to contact us and stay in touch with us, you can find us at lovesexagenda.com. That's lovesexagenda.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. Bhargo devasya dhimahi